The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Right, come on then. So, Series 9. Is it series or is it season?
No, stop again, Elaine.
What is it?
Series 2, Episode 9.
Yeah,
Or season 2
Oh,
episode.
I thought it was season.
Oh,
It is,
no,
it is
you've
season.
thrown me off
It is season.
So it's season 2. How can we not even get this right?
Well, quite easily, because it's me and you. And it's not that important to us, but it's
No.
just in case people are trying to find us, I
Okay.
suppose.
Also, and I don't want to point this out too explicitly, but you did write it down as season 2. So
Yeah,
just read what you've written.
Yeah, but then I put S. Here's me. I shorten everything.
Yeah.
Wherever I can. Anyway, here we are. So, Season 2, Episode 9. Yes, and I'm still Elaine.
And I'm Julia.
And in this episode, we're going to talk, aren't we?
Are we? That's a bit unusual.
I know,
Okay.
but we are.
Right.
And it's going to be interesting, this one.
Are you sure?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can't really remember what it is that we're
Can
going
you
to be
write
doing.
in
but...
and mark us as to the level of interest that you've got in this episode, please?
Yes. Right then, come on then. So let's get started. Firstly, if anybody's got any questions and want to get in touch, and people have been, let me tell you, how do they do that?
Well, they can contact us on...
Gareth, what can they contact us on?
Shall I do this bit then?
Yes.
Oh, okay. If people like to contact us through social media, they can get in touch on Facebook, Instagram and X at Potty Plotters. They can go to TikTok at The Potty Plotters, though I've got an admission to make here before we're going further. I haven't updated TikTok this season yet. Been very, very busy.
Okay.
You can email us, naughtycorner at pottyplotters.uk, or you can check out the website, pottyplotters.uk. And if you'd like to support the podcast, as some people have, you can go to ko-fi.com/thepottyplotters. That's ko-fi.com/thepottyplotters, and you can leave us a tip. The idea is that we might buy cake that we might eat, and we might buy coffee that we might drink. Ko-fi.com, you see.
That's
it's a tip.
nice.
It's a tipping service.
Clever.
That's
Okay,
nice
then.
if someone wants to buy us a cup of coffee, isn't it, Elaine?
It is, but Gareth has just made us one.
Yeah.
So we no complaints this week.
No
Not yet,
complaints.
anyway.
And you had a big fat cake.
I did, yeah. You
So
don't
did
have
I.
to tell everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I
just
bought you a
didn't
big
want
fat cake. You
I
didn't want
know.
it.
Well, I'd had a sandwich before I came.
The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
So, as we said, people have been getting in contact with us, and we've had a little message from Chloe Mayer in Worcester. Now, she said, "Hi there, just a little message to say that you two are great fun to listen to. Thank you for sharing your podcast. My allotment has been flooded most of the year, and I am itching to get down there and get to work, but your podcasts help me feel connected and excited for the year to come. Also, thanks to Gareth as well."
Why, what have I done?
Exactly, what has he done? Anyway, if you do have any advice on allotments that flood, please share. I have a greenhouse, a polytunnel and 3 currant bushes. Everything else we start from scratch each year. Well, saying that, the last flood has taken my polytunnel out and smashed some of the windows in the greenhouse. Worcester by the River Severn.
See, I know Worcester a little bit because I used to work there, and it's Worcester in the River Severn, not by the River Severn, because Worcester just floods that much because it's so low down.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, thank you for getting in contact, Chloe. And you did send a photo with your email. And to be honest with you, I've never seen flooding like it, Elaine.
No, it's worse than ours,
Oh, gosh,
which takes
yeah.
some beating because we're still underwater.
Yeah.
And I don't know when this is all going to go away. We need lots of days of sunshine and wind.
Yeah.
And then that will help. But unfortunately, I mean, I put a spade in the other day and it's just horrific.
Yeah.
It really is. Now, I know that, we are doing a bit of moaning, but perhaps people will bear with us when we keep saying just hold back. And we
Yeah.
are holding back from planting.
Yeah, I mean, advice for Chloe, really, it comes as quickly as it goes with us, as long as we've not got the any more persistent rain. But hers was really bad. I mean, we're talking over the knees, probably up to my hips, but probably up to your knees,
Ankle.
actually, yeah. But it was horrendous. And thinking about the problem, I mean, advice normally is to go upwards, isn't it? Build upwards. But Chloe's going to have to look at building quite substantially upwards if she wants to create any growing spaces over
and we
the winter.
don't know what next year holds. I mean, I've built new raised beds all over the place now because that's the way that I'm going to go. But as regards planting, I haven't planted anything at all yet. What I have done, though, is I have planted things in cell trays, in plant pots, and they are growing. They're in the greenhouses and also in the polytunnel, ready so that when it does subside, that we can plant straight back in. A good example, though, Julia, is onions and shallots. Because my shallots have got beautiful tops on them, about 3 inches high now. And all I've done is plonk each one into a cell tray with some multi-purpose compost at the bottom, and they've taken off. Beautiful root systems, which we'll be planting out as soon as it's dry, because if we put them out now, they'll rot. Don't want to do that.
I mean, I would say, advise people on our site that have got plots that particularly flood, we've either said go upwards or look at putting some land drainage in. But I'm guessing that that's a site-wide problem, and as you say, Gareth, probably a Worcester problem generally. So I can't even say kind of put drains in or move site even, because it's probably a city-wide problem, I'm expecting.
I would imagine so. And the other thing is, don't forget, I've had I did have about a ton or 1.5 tons of topsoil of sand. So I've had sharp sand delivered, and what I've done is I've mixed that into the topsoil. So I have got really free drainage system now. I can't even say the furs. But anyway, I've got that, so that's all working well. Let's see what happens. But keep us informed, Chloe, as to what happens with your own plot, and good luck.
I mean, another thing, an idea, you're finishing this one before I'm finished, Elaine.
Yes,
just
did
a
you
second.
notice? I was rounding that one up.
Well, just what I wanted to say to Chloe is perhaps have a look at hugel.
What?
Hugel culture. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
And that means you can build up really quite a lot, because it's layering things like trees and logs and all kinds of things into a raised bed to get the levels up, and it takes a lot longer to break down, because she is going to have to go very tall if she's going to be making raised beds, I think. So as you say, the other alternative, plant everything as plants and hope against hope at the moment that we're going to have a dry period.
Let's see what happens.
Good luck, Chloe.
Right, we've had another one in then from Emma Richardson. Now then, Emma, she's written, hey, I like that. I recently came across your allotment podcast and I really love it. Thanks for all your tips. I have a question. A couple of times you suggested for various vegetables and flowers that you can start seeds in closed Tupperware with damp, I was going to say issues, but tissues. Can this be a general rule to follow to help with germination and also to test how viable your seeds are? Because we only mentioned parsnips and we mentioned sweet peas as well, which we do and have had great success with. So I'm just going to go back to COVID times, Julia, because I remember you doing it with nearly everything.
I did it with nearly everything because compost was so hard to get hold of, because all the garden centres were shut, and of course the supply chain slowed down completely. So I was literally pre-chitting everything to make sure that anything that did go in the compost was viable and was ready to go.
Now, when you say viable, what you mean is you're testing to see if the seeds are going to germinate so that they will work and they will grow.
Exactly. Lovely. So roots started to appear in them. And strangely enough, this last week, I was given some chilli seeds that had been stored very badly. And I mean, when I say badly, they'd been kept in all kinds of conditions. They were damp conditions. They were very hot conditions. So we didn't expect anything to happen with them. So I took the seeds and put them in the takeaway container, and surprise, they've all germinated. So, if you have any doubts and you don't want to waste the compost, some things you don't need to do it with, and it can be a bit of a waste now that we've got compost freely available. But if you want to, give it a go.
It makes sense. And also, we've had one in from Laura Tobin.
What, the Laura Tobin? the Laura Tobin.
It is Laura Tobin.
Going back to Chloe, where you were talking about if only we knew if we were going to have a dry spell. Can I put 2 and 2 together and get Laura Tobin? If only we could get Laura Tobin.
If only.
If only Laura Tobin was listening and would come on the podcast. If she doesn't want to, I do know another weather person, but he's only just started. And to be honest, I beat him with tomatoes a couple of years ago, so I don't trust him anymore.
You see, we are obsessed with the weather.
We are.
That's the problem, isn't it?
It is
and
the
that's
hottest
all we
topic,
talk about. Yeah. Now,
It's not very
Julia-
hot, to be fair.
No, but I tell you what, Gareth, you don't know, but Julia's got what I've now called the appy. Because every time I say, oh, it looks like it's going to rain, she immediately goes for her phone and she said, not on my appy, it's not.
That one.
Honestly, yeah.
So we're recording inside today because when we tried to record this episode last week, it was raining quite badly.
Yes.
And I picked to do it inside today because it's supposed to be raining quite badly, but not right at this precise second.
It's lovely and sunny
It's
out.
lovely
so
and
now
sunny.
we're frustrated, aren't we, Elaine?
Yeah, drunk club. If only we knew a proper weather person, Laura Tobin.
Right then.
What did
Just
Laura
say
say,
Laura.
Elaine?
Laura Tobin,
she
come on.
does know us, Gareth. That's the thing. Right then. Hi, lovely ladies. She's got that right as well. I run a beavers group.
Oh.
A group of beavers. I wonder where they are. When you say
They're
are.
little people, aren't they?
Well, I thought there were things that we've got some in Derbyshire, haven't we? Beavers.
Oh, those
You
can't
thought
know.
little beavers like badgers? That kind of thing? No.
No.
No, they're small people.
Oh, okay then. And next week, I'm working towards our gardening badge. That's
I
exciting.
remember that in Brownies, yeah, did you?
No, because I wasn't in Brownies. Right then, we need to plant 3 things and look after them and document them, how they grow, etc. Okay, can you recommend what we should plant that will grow soon-ish and actually live? That's interesting. And then she's suggested herself cress, ? Salad leaves, ? Hope you can help, Laura.
Well, first thing to suggest is,
I
of
tell
course,
ya.
the pea shoots.
Yes, definitely.
Pea shoots, fast, quick. You'll see results and you'll be able to cut them a couple of times. So easy peasy.
Now, I don't like that one, Julia.
Yeah.
Now, that is quite simply some bigger peas, they're the dried peas, and all you do is you scatter some peas onto multi-purpose compost, cover them up with about 1/2 inch, not even that, 1/4 inch of multi-purpose compost, water them and leave them somewhere dry and warm. And then they shoot up literally within 10 days, don't they?
Perfect.
That's a good thing.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Now, I've got one which we had talked about before, which is fat balls.
Have you got fat balls?
I don't think you should ask that, Julia. And the answer's no. And we'll leave it at that.
Is that because you smashed them?
Right then, so what I've done is I've got some very cheap fat balls that you feed the birds on. I smashed them open. I did it with my hands, actually. That's how tough I am. Don't fight with me. So, and then all I've done is I've picked out the big black seeds and the stripy seeds, and I've washed them to get all of the suet off. I've given the birds the suet, and then all I've done is I've planted the seeds, but not where you think. So I haven't put them straight into the compost. I've done, ironically, what was asked of us before by Emma. It was Emma who was talking about it. I've put them in the little takeaway boxes on some kitchen towel that was wet, and then I've watched them. Now, even I've been fascinated by it, and guess what? Yes, they have germinated.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, so now I've put them into soil and we don't know what we're going to get, but I've done that.
So congratulations on growing your own lawn.
Lovely.
Yeah, and the other thing that Laura could get them growing is radishes. Radishes are dead quick and easy. I mean, we're big fans of the seed tape, so you could use the seed tape or you could just use the loose seeds, but they'll be up and through and they'll be ready to eat in about 10 weeks.
And the good thing about that is that you can introduce literacy and numeracy into anything where you've got children, and what you could do there is get them to measure out the tape and put them to fit the container that you're going to grow them in and so on. Oh yeah, I love a seed tape where kids are. It's much easier than letting them loose with seeds. Just saying.
If you'd like to support the podcast, you can leave us a tip at ko-fi.com/thepottyplotters. That's ko-fi.com/thepottyplotters. And we'll love you forever.
Right then, Julia, let's go back a bit and get some updates. I've just talked about the smashing of the fat balls and how well they have actually worked. One has actually popped up already, and that is within 10 days.
Well done.
Incredible. I'm dead pleased with that. As Gareth said, though, God knows what we're going to end up with. But nevertheless, it was a great thing to do. The next thing is that I wanted to talk to you about sweet peas. Now, we have got a lot. How are they doing?
They're doing fantastically well. I keep potting them on, and now I'm nipping out the top. So once they get to about 6 inches or maybe 3 sets of leaves, all I'm doing is cutting the top off just to force the growth downwards.
So not in any particular place, you're just taking the top out?
I do it above the leaf joint. So I count the third one up, and then I nip the top out.
That can be quite brutal.
Yes,
nevertheless,
it
works.
Very brutal. It upsets a lot of people, but it actually pays off in the long run, because all we're doing is making the plant bush out from the bottom. So we're going to get lots and lots more flowers. But I have literally got hundreds now, Elaine, so we need to plant them somewhere. Where are we going?
Okay. Have you, just go back over, have you hardened them off so you got them acclimatised to outside?
Some of them are planted inside. Some of them I am starting to harden off in the cold frame outside.
Then. So yes, in the next couple of weeks then, let's get outside and plant them.
Okay.
Gareth is now holding to the left of me a takeaway box with some dried kitchen towel and some green plants.
I don't think you can blame me for this one, because I didn't do this. So,
what are they then, Gareth?
So I got home from work the other week. Was it last week? And the other half said, I'm going to do some sweet peas. And I went, you don't need to. We'll get given them.
Yeah.
We get given everything. And she went, no, I'm going to do it. So she got a takeaway container. She got a piece of kitchen paper and damp and put it wet and put the sweet pea seeds on. And then she left them in the conservatory, and it gets a little bit of sun in there. And nothing really happened. So she moved them into the lounge above the radiator, and this is what's happened.
So they've all chittered, and they've all put on plenty of growth. In fact, they are growing out of the tub. They've got lovely green shoots on them.
They're like pea shoots now.
Yeah, but now the kitchen towel has dried out, and they appear to have kind of anchored themselves into the kitchen towel. So I think a bit of remedial work is necessary, Elaine.
Good luck.
Good job she's not here.
Yeah, well done. Yes,
Right, we'll
see us
sort
later,
them out.
Alison. Yeah.
Okay.
And I just want to tell you about my other flowers. So do you remember the snapdragons that we did very, very early on?
Yes.
Oh, they're going great guns now. Now the weather's changed and we're starting to see a bit more light in the day. I'm now up to about the 3rd set of leaves on them. So they are growing taller, and when they get to the 4th set of leaves, do you know what I'm going to do, Elaine?
Are you going to pinch the tops?
I'm going to take the tops off, and I'm going to take the tops off again to make them bushier from the bottom, and I'm also going to use the tops and replant them to get more flowers. So I am very excited about that. That could happen this week. And also, can you remember Ami seeds that I mentioned before, and you mocked me about them? I did. They're up and through, and they've got going. So my floral area will be full soon.
Well, that sounds okay, Julia, but not quite as big and as blossomy as probably mine. I've done loads of cosmos. Oh. Now, I'm going to tell you about the seeds for the cosmos. They're about 1/4 of an inch. I was looking at Gareth then as if he could help me, because I don't know if he does decimal or not. No. But it's about 1/4 of an inch in length. And all I did was pop them on the top individually, like every inch, on a 6-inch square container of multipurpose compost. Lightly covered them, and they are round about now 2 inches high. They look really well, really healthy, but they're not hardy, so I can't put them outside yet. But I'm hoping that they will be really tall as well, so that we get quite a visual display this year.
Are you going to pinch them out?
Well, I've never pinched them.
You can pinch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can pinch them out, and you'll get more of them as well.
Okay, well, we'll have a go at pinching then.
Pinch punch.
Used to get done, you know.
I know,
if you have a pinching,
pinching. And there's something else I want to tell you about, Elaine.
Okay.
I've been on that old interweb.
Oh, God.
And I got ordering our nematodes, slugs, to deal with our slugs.
Yeah.
And guess what else I ordered myself?
I dread to think.
Some mushroom pate.
No, I ordered myself a ladybird family.
Real?
Yeah.
Okay.
A real ladybird family. So, of course, we know that the ladybirds are the good guys out there that will deal with the aphids. So rather than kind of dealing with a problem when I've got a problem, I'm bringing the ladybirds in before I have any problems. And so I have bought myself 25 adult ladybirds, and I bought myself 50 babies. So the kind of before they turn into
right then. So you got them off the internet.
Yeah.
And where do you put them, dare I ask?
So I've bought myself a little ladybird hotel, and I'm going to put that in the polytunnel.
Okay, yeah.
Stop laughing at me.
No, I've never heard of this before. before,
We did
right?
this can you not remember? We did this a couple of years ago, and there was all kinds of sexual antics in my
with the ladybirds.
Yeah, the ladybirds.
It's a night away in a hotel. What do you expect?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll see what Gareth's talking about. Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, hopefully my plot will have a mass explosion of ladybirds.
Brilliant.
So,
Let's
I'm quite
see.
excited
yeah,
about
that is
it.
a good move,
I have
actually.
done them before and they did make a big difference. So, I've not got time to go round and find them all over the plot and relocate them.
Which is what you have done.
Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm bringing in a whole family.
Brilliant. Let's do it. Right. Well, I've now got broad beans and I've got peas as well. Both of them are dwarf varieties ready to put in the meal barrows.
Yeah.
And I've decided that I'm just going to do a mixture of both with some carrots and shallots. So the meal barrows are nothing more than wheelbarrows that have got holes in the bottom. And all I do is I fill them with multipurpose compost mixed with sand and put any dwarf variety of stuff in them. And then that will keep somebody happy for a few weeks when they get to maturity. But I thought with having broad beans and peas as well, Gareth might like them as well. Just he won't know.
Oh well, I can tell a broad bean from a pea.
Anyway, you've been germinating your parsnip seeds as well, haven't you?
I have, yes. Now then, my dad always used to say that you can't transplant carrots and parsnips. Always maintain that, so we always did them straight into the ground. But last year I had great success in that I watched what happened at garden centres. And in the garden centres, you can buy them ready as like packs of ready growing carrots and also parsnips. And I thought, I'm going to have a go at that. Well, I tell you what, it worked. And this year I've done loads. So all I'm going to do in a few weeks' time is transplant them into the ground by making holes, fill the holes up with a big stick, fill the holes up then with sand and compost, and then plonk the little plantling on the top. And that's how they're going to go this year. I think it's going to work. With the carrots, I'm going carrot tape.
Oh, are you?
I am, yeah.
Wow.
Because we had such success as an experiment on yours. I decided I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even your husband could do that for you, Elaine.
I don't want him on the plot, Julia.
Okay.
He'll only tell me where I've gone wrong.
Okay.
Hints and tips for shortcuts to success. The Potty Plotters Plotcast.
Julia, a hint and tip.
Yeah.
A hint and tip. And it's actually for you because I've watched you do this.
Yes.
And you might not know that I have been observing you.
Oh.
Right, here we have is actually Gareth has just given me this out of his recycling pile. And this is simply an egg box.
Yeah.
Now then, I use them for chitting.
Yes.
My
So do I, yeah.
taters. And also you can grow cress in them as well.
Yeah.
That works really well with children too. However, what I was going to say was, you tell me what you do with it. There you go.
So I rip it up and I put it in my... I don't know if I'm meant to be doing this now because I'm doing it, but I rip it up into chunks and put it in my compost bin.
And I don't think many people realise how valuable that is. Because of them being the cardboard that they are, they soak up the moisture.
Yeah, and they actually break up really easily. But because I'm doing it in chunks and because of the kind of the cell nature of them almost, that is allowing the air to get into the composter. So they are brilliant and they're so easy to rip up. So
we just need to tell more people.
Straight into the compost bin.
So I thought you were going to put one of them on the end of your finger and draw some eyes on it, and then you've got a finger mouse.
We'll do that anyway for you, Gareth.
Contact the Potty Plotters anytime on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at Potty Plotters, or email naughtycorner@pottyplotters.uk.
Now, I mentioned parsnips earlier, Julia, but I just want to go over when we germinated the sweet peas, which are, these in front of us.
Yeah.
I just want to tell people not to give up on the parsnips.
Right.
So, exactly the same way as we've done sweet peas, that you get a takeaway container, toilet paper or kitchen towel, damp it, put the seeds on the top, another layer on the top, clip it too, make sure it's airtight, and then put it somewhere warm. Now, sweet peas, as you know, flipping out, we've done loads, haven't we?
Yeah.
But they're through and growing, I would say, within 5 to 7 days, and certainly into multipurpose compost within sort of 10 days to a fortnight, aren't they? The difference with the parsnips is they do take a lot longer, and they can take up to a fortnight to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But what I am going to tell you is that I've done something like 8 boxes of them, because once you've opened the seeds for your parsnips, they won't be viable the following year. So I thought I'll do them for anybody and everybody, and that's actually worked. Within 11 days, they started to show shoots, and now I've actually planted them into some multi-purpose compost, all with tails.
I mean, you're talking about parsnips, and you do remember from last year that they are the devil's vegetable. They hide in with the roast potatoes when you go out for Sunday dinner, lull you into a false sense of security that there's loads of roast potatoes, and then bam, it's a parsnip.
See, I think we're going to have to start and club together. Keep your pocket money in the future, Julia.
Yeah.
I think he needs a psychiatrist.
I've been hanging around with you lots. That's all I'm going to say.
The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Now, I know we spoke about slugs last week, but Gareth has some breaking news about them.
Now, you may have noticed on this podcast that we talk about slugs, snails and other pests a lot. In episode 7, we told you some of the ways of keeping slugs off your garden. And back in episode 20 of season 1, we talked to Mr. Nematode himself. But now the RHS is encouraging us to be kind to our slimy friends. Dr. Hayley Jones is principal etymologist at the RHS, or Dr. Slug if you like.
So we know that slugs and snails are extremely bothersome for gardeners. We get a lot of inquiries to the RHS Gardening Advice Service about them. So we're not trying to convince people that they absolutely shouldn't be bothered, but we do want them to think again a bit. And the primary reason for this is because slugs and snails are not all the same. There is a huge diversity of species, many of which don't eat live plants at all, but will be affected by lots of the more drastic measures that people might take when they're trying to fight against slug and snail damage on their plants.
So they've teamed up with the wildlife trusts around the UK, but what is it they actually want us to do?
We mostly just want people to be tolerant, be acceptant of slugs and snails in their garden. They don't necessarily need to encourage them, because slugs and snails already do pretty well in British gardens. The climate here is ideal for them. So they don't necessarily need kind of encouraging as such, but they do need protecting from things like pesticides, slug pellets. That's the thing that we really want people to ease up on using.
Elaine and Julia, you both spoke about chucking slugs onto other plots. What's Dr. Hayley's thoughts on this?
So we're not necessarily against the relocating of slugs and snails, as long as it's from your prize lettuces to your compost heap or a kind of a more wildly overgrown patch. So yeah, it's definitely fine to pick them up and move them if they're completely clobbering your seedlings or your soft fruit and veg. There's other ways to balance the population that don't necessarily have to be so interventionist. So encouraging predators in the garden, things like birds and hedgehogs, frogs and toads, if you can have a pond, and ground beetles. So ground beetles are one of the big predators of slugs and snails. So it is just about, if you can have a more wildlife friendly plot, then hopefully the numbers will be a bit more balanced by themselves.
You mentioned ground beetles there. Do they in turn cause other problems for gardeners that we're aware of? You don't want to sort of take one pest and introduce another one into the equation. So are they okay for me to have as extra wildlife in the garden to almost self-control what's going on with the slugs and the snails?
Absolutely. So ground beetles are predators. They're actually going to be an all-round helper for most gardeners and allotment holders, because they will feed on lots of different kind of ground-dwelling herbivores and they will. So if you can encourage them, it will help in lots of ways. I don't think there's really going to be any downsides to having more ground beetles in your garden.
And finally, does Dr. Hayley think, due to the moist conditions we've had since really the back end of last year, that we'll be seeing more slugs and snails this year?
The damp weather that we've seen, especially because it's been damp and mild through the winter, does mean that there could be a lot more slug and snail activity going on this year and earlier than we might normally expect. This is where one of the other things that we really strongly recommend in terms of how you grow your plants, which is wherever possible, don't plant out tiny seedlings if you know you've got a lot of slugs and snails in the area, but grow them on under cover or protected in some way until they're bigger and sturdier, where they can withstand a bit of nibbling without completely dying.
And that's all for this edition of Plotcast News.
What do you think of all that then?
Well, I think it's controversial, and I think that we ought to talk about it more often, because we'd already mentioned slugs, and it is something that a lot of people, when we go out to do our talks, want to talk to us about. I will be honest, Julia, I don't like slugs. I can't see me. I'm not cruel to them, except when I've knelt on one or two. That's vile. It's horrible. Oh, and I did pick one out of your hair, I recall.
You did. That was nice, yeah.
Other than that, I really can't see how they're going to benefit me on the allotment, because they do ravage and savage the plants, and I can't cope with it, because I've nurtured stuff, and maybe it's selfish, but when you've nurtured stuff for so long, to get to the stage that you're then putting them out onto the allotment, for then just to let loose your slugs, I have a problem with that. I mean, I am protective of my plants.
I mean, I get that. Yes, there may be some slugs out there that are beneficial in terms of the ones that you put in the compost bin will eat the decaying matter and help it break down. And I have to say, I've seen them in the compost bin, and when I've come to empty it at the bottom, they're not there. So obviously, all nature's creatures are doing its thing, and probably they've disappeared in that process along the way. Maybe there's nematodes in there, I don't know. But what I would say is, how do you know which is the good guy and which is the bad guy? Are they going to go around wearing badges, or kind of, can we stop and ask them what their intentions are? Because unless we can, like you, I want them nowhere near my plants. So,
I don't know, and I'm not sure if it's the king's new clothes, because if we let the slugs eat all of our food, then we won't have any.
Yeah.
And that's not good.
Perhaps we just take them to Kev's plot.
Eric's.
Why? What's Eric ever done to you?
I can throw them over his.
Oh,
I
right.
can't reach Kev's.
Yeah, but if we put them in a Tupperware container and take them to Kev's, you'll never know.
No.
If you'd like Elaine and Julia to come to a talk for your group, get in touch. naughtycorner@pottyplotters.uk.
Right then, so Julia, your asparagus. Now, your asparagus bed we built very tall.
Yes.
And in fact, we often sit on the bed, sort of the edge, don't we? So how's your asparagus doing?
Right. Well, fantastic. So the asparagus bed we built about 5 years ago now, and it was on a bit of ground that it was a bit of wasted ground. It had an old building on it, and so I wanted asparagus. I love asparagus, but the thing with asparagus is it's an investment crop. It really is. So you have to put a lot of work into preparing the area, making sure that the conditions are right for it, and then it takes about 4 years before you can start fully harvesting it. But the long-term benefits are you can harvest it for about 25 years. So, and it'll keep producing and keep producing. So every year around this time of year, I start on asparagus watch, don't I?
Yeah, you do.
Start looking. And this is going out the beginning of the first week in April, isn't it? Now, we're recording 2 weeks early. Last year, I recorded 2nd of April as the first appearance of the asparagus. 2 weeks earlier, we have got asparagus coming up. And I've looked at Kev's bed, and he's also got asparagus coming up in his bed. So that shows how the climate has changed. It's 2 weeks earlier than previously, but the asparagus is on its way. If you are thinking of building yourself an asparagus bed, now is the perfect time. And what I would say is don't buy one of the shriveled up, mangled ones that you see in maybe the garden centres and the cheaper shops. You'll see them hanging up. Order yourself some proper crowns online from an asparagus farm. And what they do at this time of year is they will dig you a crown up. And usually they are 1-year-old crowns. So they've already had plenty of growth going into them. And they will literally arrive, and usually they perhaps arrive in newspaper or cardboard, and they are ready to plant. So they're nice and plump and ready to plant. And the key things to remember with an asparagus bed is make sure there's no perennial weeds if you can, because you won't be able to dig them out once the asparagus has been set. It makes it very hard. Also, drainage is really important because it doesn't like sitting in the water. And because it's going to be somewhere that you're going to leave for the next 25 years potentially, put it somewhere on the plot that's not going to really get in your way, but they do like sunshine and they do like nutrients. So every year I top it up with a good layer of compost, and really it's as simple as that, and it will pay off. And as I say, it started, and now hopefully I'll have about 10 weeks harvesting fresh English asparagus.
Well, that's about it. We've done a lot of talking today, and I can tell you we're going to do a lot of talking next time.
Oh, are we?
Yes, you in particular, because you being the queen of tomatoes, we are going to talk about everything tomatoey. So a load of redness going on. It's not something to do with the sun.
Menopause.
That's it. Right. And we're going to take them right the way through, from start off right the way through to what to do now in order to get success.
Okay.
I like tomatoes. Do you like tomato sauce?
Yeah, I like tomatoes.
Were you shaking your head, Julia? Do you mean yes or no?
I'm confused.
Do you like tomato sauce? It's either yes or no. Surely.
Yes, I do.
Right, that's all we wanted. Goodbye now.
The Plotcast podcast with the Potty Plotters is an Amberland Media production.